Astronomy is a branch of science. It's the scientific study of celestial objects like stars and planets. Astronomy is also the name of a wonderful song by Conan Gray. To understand the depth of this song, it's necessary to think of astronomy as a science. Science is the study of the natural world based on facts, and a fact is a thing that is known or proven to be true. There's not that much room for interpretation when you're up against cold, hard facts. Wasn't that such a fun journey through the dictionary? So fun. In this song, when Conan is singing "It's astronomy, we're two worlds apart," he's saying that this is science, this is a fact. We're not good together anymore. Conan has literally done the research, looked at his data, done calculations and statistics, and he's like, there's no room for interpretation here. It's astronomy. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe, hit the bell, share with your friends if you enjoy this sort of content. I would really appreciate it. And let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome to this video. On my channel, I analyze song lyrics very in depth through the lens of literary analysis. Today we are doing the song Astronomy by Conan Gray. As a reminder, everything presented in this video is my own personal opinion. Music is very subjective. I always encourage you all to comment your thoughts down below. I tend to concentrate on diction, which is word choice, and connotation, which can be thought of as the vibes or the emotions that the words elicit. Let's get started. This song is about a breakup. It's about those people where you love them, but it's not gonna work out. Like no matter what you do, you're always gonna be two worlds apart. That's a lyric in this song. Verse 1. We drive through the woods, rich neighborhoods to watch. We joked as we looked that they were too good for us. Cause socially speaking, we were the same. With runaway fathers and mothers who drank. Tale old as time, young love don't last for life. And now I know, it's time to go, it's time to go. Okay. At the beginning of this verse, we have some reminiscing on part of the protagonist. Protagonist means the main character. The song starts off with some hashtag memories. So it sounds like the protagonist and the love interest are going to a richer neighborhood to look at the houses. People watching _ConanGray.mp3 vibes are going on here. The diction here where it says through the woods, it makes me think that they're driving a bit of a way away. It's a further drive. They're spending time together. To me, this sounds like a very good bonding experience. They're bonding by going on this little drive, but they're also bonding because they can relate to one another. They have a foundation that they can build on because their social situations, the dynamics of their families are very, very similar. So there's like an innate sort of understanding they have towards one another. This song is about a young love. What I'm about to say is true at any age, but I think in particular when you're younger, it's so magical to find someone that like gets you. You know what I mean? There's like more angst associated with a young love in my opinion, and when you find someone who just like gets you, who like understands your pain, it's like very, very dramatic. It feels like yes. Hashtag gay. A tale old as time, young love don't last for life. Now we are brought back to the present moment. The lyrics prior to this were all a reminiscing sort of vibe. The fact that this phrase, a tale old as time, is used is significant in my opinion. This is a well-known phrase, right? It's also like in the song from Beauty and the Beast, a tale as old as time. Anyways, the fact that this story is well known makes it seem unavoidable. The story has already been written. Everyone knows how this ends. Perhaps they thought that they would be the exception, but it turns out they're not. And just because it's a tale old as time, just because their story isn't like unique, young lovers breaking up, it doesn't mean that it's not gonna hurt. The pain that the protagonist is feeling is very, very real, even though this story may not be unique. This lyric here is also a bit of a transition because before reading this, if this is your first time hearing the song, you don't know yet that they're not together. It's kind of like a punch in the gut a little bit. You're just kind of like, whoa, and now I know, it's time to go. It's time to go. There's repetition of those lyrics here. I always say that repetition signifies significance, especially in songs where we know we have like an intentional songwriter like Taylor, Conan, even like Lorde and Lana, people who write their own lyrics. I take repetition in those songs more seriously because I know they're coming to this song from like a different place. When you're writing the song yourself and it's from your personal experiences, you are more intentional about the diction you use, and just naturally you're going to write it in a certain way because it's going to be aligned with your emotions. That's why I'm paying a little bit more attention to the repetition here. The fact that it's repeated shows me that this is a thought that the protagonist has had over and over again. Perhaps these were thoughts that were always in the back of his mind. Perhaps they still echo in his mind. Chorus. We've traveled the seas, we've ridden the stars, we've seen everything from Saturn to Mars. As much as it seems like you own my heart, it's astronomy, we're two worlds apart. And then we have repetition of the lyric, it's astronomy, we're two worlds apart, it's astronomy, we're two worlds apart. This is telling us that they've experienced a lot together. They've gone on adventures together, metaphorical, literal, and adventures of the internal variety. What I gather here is that they really bonded in an intimate way on a more emotional level. The word travel, that diction to me is significant. When they're traveling the seas, it sounds like a voyage. And when you travel, you do it with intent. It's like a process. You like pack and plan. I feel like the word travel shows that there was a greater depth to the experience. Like he didn't say we've crossed the seas. He says we traveled the seas. So that seems more intentional to me. Like they made a decision to go on this journey together. We've ridden the stars. This is kind of whimsical and cute. They explored each other's universe, right? Their internal world. They knew each other to a great depth. That's how I'm interpreting that. And I love that it says stars. First of all, I understand this song is called Astronomy, so we're gonna have some space imagery. However, you can also think of it like they've conquered Earth. They've traveled the seas. They've seen everything there is to see here. They have conquered one level of understanding one another. Now they have to go to space, further out into each other's universe. So it shows that there is like layers. I would interpret stars as being a deeper emotional layer that they're discovering within each other. So they really have been like bonded in a very intimate way emotionally. We've seen everything from Saturn to Mars. Again, they've traveled quite a bit within the solar system. Mars to Saturn doesn't cover all of the planets, but it covers quite a bit. If this song was called Astrology, we could look at the significance of these planets. Mars is like a warlike planet, and Saturn, I believe, is a planet of restriction. I'm not an expert in astrology. I know very, very basic things. But if this was called Astrology, we would be discussing that more in depth. There is a lyric later in the song where in the same line, we have a reference to astronomy and astrology, and that's my favorite lyric in the song. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to keep watching. As much as it seems like you own my heart, it's astronomy. We're two worlds apart. So the fact that they've gone through these adventures together, the fact that these adventures have so much emotional depth to them, that would lead you to believe that you are like together, like really tightly knit together, right? The protagonist here is saying, it may seem like you own my heart, but that's not the reality. It's astronomy. This is why it's important that we differentiate between astronomy and astrology, right? These are different fields, and I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I believe there's value in both. However, astronomy is science-based. When something is based in science, it can be proven. Other people within your field need to be able to replicate your results the same exact way. That's part of the scientific process. Your results need to be able to be replicated. That's how things become a scientific fact. So the fact that the protagonist is saying it's astronomy means that this is non-negotiable. This is a science. This is a fact. I have data to prove my point, right? There's no room for negotiation. When you think about astrology, there's a little bit more room for interpretation. If you listen to astrologers talk about like big ideas within astrology, they can look at the same thing and they can interpret it in a slightly different way. Astrology is a very nuanced field. And again, there's values in both, but it's just different. He's saying it's a fact, we're two different. This is ironic because they've been in space together, they've ridden the stars in each other's metaphorical emotional worlds, but despite doing that, they are in two different spheres of existence. For the protagonist, these two spheres can't like overlap. They can't coincide, or they can't form a larger sphere. They have to be separate for one reason or another. And another reason this is kind of striking is because in the verse previous, it was stated that socially speaking, we're the same. And while they do seem to understand each other at a very base level, the protagonist has realized that they're still too different. This is kind of what happens with young love. I'm gonna just kind of put in my 2 cents really quick. When you're younger, you're still realizing who you are. You can connect with people in a very intimate and meaningful way when you're young. Those bonds have value. However, as you get older, as you learn who you are and as you learn who the other person is, you may realize that you guys just don't fit. sometimes that base level of understanding is not enough. As you get older, you start to think about other things. Do you have the same values? Do you communicate in the same way? Are you willing to alter your method of communication if it's not working? Things like that. Those details start to kind of get uncovered as you get older, and you realize that they are important. And sometimes the things that you bond with people at the beginning of a friendship or relationship, they might not be enough. I think that's what may have happened here. I want to hear your thoughts though. Comment them down below. The fact that the lyrics, "It's astronomy, we're two worlds apart," is repeated is significant because this is showing us that the protagonist is not going to change their mind. He's like, this is literally a fact. We're too different. There is, again, no room for debate. You can't change his mind. He has already done the thinking, like in private, and he's come and he's stating the facts to us now. He's like, this is the conclusion I have. He's sure. Verse 3. From far away, I wish I'd stayed with you. But here, face to face, a stranger that I once knew. I thought if I wandered, I'd fall back in love. You said, distance brings fondness, but guess not with us. The only mistake that we didn't make was run. Now look what we've done. In this verse, we get some more details about their relationship and their dynamic. The protagonist is saying, from far away, I wish I'd stayed with you. So when he reminisces about the relationship, and he's far away from the situation a little bit, he wishes he would have stayed. And I believe what we have going on here is romanticizing the past. I've talked about this before in my videos. This is where we have a bit of nostalgia. We have a rose-colored lens here. When you're far away from something, just magically, you forget the details, you forget the reasons why it didn't work out. However, in the next line it says, but here, face to face, a stranger that I once knew. The protagonist realizes that when he's in the midst of the relationship face to face with the other person, it's not going to work out. This love interest has become a stranger to him. As much as he cares for this person and he wants to be with this person, it's not going to be a possibility because the person he wants to be with no longer exists. People change. I know that's like a cliche thing to say, but it's the truth, right? People change, and sometimes it just is in a way that shifts the dynamic way too much. This also makes me think that the protagonist is the one who called off the relationship because he says, I wish I'd stayed with you, which means that he had a choice. So I feel like maybe the protagonist is the one who called it off. I thought if I wondered, I'd fall back in love. You said, distance brings fondness, but guess not with us. This is showing me the protagonist wanted to make this work. He thought maybe taking a break would make him miss the other person more. This shows us that he really tried. He tried to give it space, pun intended, but it didn't work out. The only mistake that we didn't do was run. This is interesting. I think this is a little bit more ambiguous, which means that there are multiple ways to view it, and we don't really know which one's the right one. I want your opinion about this. For me, there was like a random bobby pin in my hair. That's great. For me, the word run here could suggest them running away together from the situation they were in, or it could be running away from each other. Two literal opposite things, right? So he could be saying the only mistake that we made was not running away together. Maybe if they ran away together, they wouldn't be dealing with the changes and they could just exist in their little bubble together where everything would be the same. Or perhaps he's saying that our mistake was that we didn't run away from this sooner, because if we were to run away sooner, the pain would be less. For me, how I'm interpreting it is that they didn't run away from the relationship sooner, because when he says, now look what we've done, it just makes me feel like they could have saved themselves the pain if they would have called it quits earlier. That's how I'm personally interpreting it, but let me know your thoughts down below. Then we have repetition of the chorus. Now we're at the bridge. Stop trying to keep us alive. You're pointing at stars in the sky that already died. Stop trying to keep us alive. You can't force the stars to align when they've already died. Oh, we've died. This is the last unique verse. The verse after this is the chorus, and that's when the song ends. So let's break down the bridge. Stop trying to keep us alive. This is confirming for me that the other person still wants this relationship, but it's the protagonist who's like, no, we can't. This is literally science. You're pointing at stars in the sky that already died. So the thing with space is that it is so far away, like literally super far away, to state it scientifically.
So when you're looking up at the stars, you are in fact looking at the past. And this is due to the speed of light. It says here that when we look at objects that are very large distances away from us, the light that's hitting us now will have started from the object quite a long time ago. So pretty much we are not looking at what the object looks like now, but rather what it looked like some time ago when the light was originally emitted.
It's like super meta. If you ever want to have an existential crisis, you can ponder about that if you'd like.
For example, the light from the sun takes about 8 minutes to reach the earth. So when you're looking at the sun, and also, like, please don't look at the sun directly. Like, don't do that. But if you were to look at the sun, what you're seeing is what the sun looked like 8 minutes ago. This is pretty cool. However, in the context of figurative writing, this is pretty intense. This can be interpreted as something very tragic, in my opinion. You know, you're admiring the beauty of something, but in actuality, that thing is no longer in existence. Within this song, the thing that's being admired is the relationship. The love interest still views the relationship in a positive way, like beautiful stars in the night sky. However, for the protagonist, that beautiful thing is no longer in existence. It's already died. The protagonist has this understanding or this opinion, but the love interest does not. They are still seeing the light from that dead star.
The protagonist here is saying that what you're trying to state as your reasons for us to be together, they're dead. They're in the past. I imagine perhaps the love interest saying that, look, we understand each other, we have to be together. And the protagonist is like, no, those things no longer apply. Those things are in the past. What your argument is something that's died. It's not something that is in existence. The stars are so beautiful. It's a light in the darkness, so you can view it as a bit of light imagery, right? But when you think about it, what you're looking at doesn't really exist in the moment you're looking at it. They could have exploded or something. I don't know, do stars explode? Let me know in the comments below. So what you're admiring could, in this moment in time, actually be nothing. It's an illusion, kind of. There's something very tragic about that. There's a great beauty to the stars. There was a great beauty to their relationship and to their bond, but there's nothing left to admire. Stop trying to keep us alive is repeated. Again, repetition signifies significance. The protagonist is really adamant about them not getting back together. You can't force the stars to align when they've already died. This is the line that I was talking about where there is astronomy and astrology in the same line. So when he says you can't force the stars to align, in my opinion, that's a reference to astrology. And then he says when they've already died, and that's referring to astronomy. So we have astrology vibes here with the stars aligning, but then we have the fact that the stars have died, which is a scientific sort of thing. It's astronomy. We have juxtaposition of those two schools of thought. Juxtaposition is when things are set side by side for the purpose of comparison. That's really interesting to me. That's also very sad to me because what is being said here is that we don't have a chance to be together, not in the scientific realm, in the realm of facts, but not even in the realm that has a little bit more room for interpretation. None of that. The protagonist has really made up their mind. Oh, we've died. Died, that diction is very definite. It's very final. There's no going back. They're not hibernating, right? Their relationship is dead. The protagonist has a lot of awareness. They know that this relationship isn't going to work out for one reason or another. As much as they cared for this person, they know that there's going to be no value in continuing this dynamic. It's not going to serve them in the long term. I think that's very mature. While this is hurting now, in the long term, it's going to be the best choice. When you are aware that something's not working, if you allow it to continue, it's like you're hurting yourself on purpose. And I know those situations are complicated and there's nuances to every situation, but I will say that I do respect the protagonist a lot for being strong and firm in their decision and making what seems like a tough decision. The song does end on the chorus. So it ends with the lyric, it's astronomy, we're two worlds apart. So we're really told that the reason this relationship didn't work out is because there's too much of a difference between the two romantic partners. We're not told exactly what this difference is, but it's something important enough to break up the relationship. In conclusion, this song is about a relationship from beginning to end. It started in a very tight-knit way. There was a lot of bonding going on. But as it progressed, the same foundation they had wasn't there anymore. It was kind of cracking. On one side of this relationship, the protagonist, we have awareness. On the other side of the relationship, the love interest, we have the belief that they can still work. So the protagonist here is just standing very firm on something they realized, and it's very difficult and heartbreaking, but it's just the reality of some situations. That's all I have for this song. Please let me know your thoughts down below. What's your favorite lyric? Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it and to subscribe if you haven't already, if you want. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to comment down what song I should do next. I hope you have a great rest of your day.